TicketFM.com. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at TicketFM.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Welcome in to the Get Your Happy On Hour, featuring former Husker receiver Ricky Simmons.
Hey, welcome to the show. It's the Get Your Happy On Hour. I'm your host, Ricky C. Simmons, 93.7 The Ticket. Hey, y'all. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Let me say that right off the bat. And also, I want to say for those of you that are like myself that no longer have your mom, because my mom's in heaven, you know what? Mother's Day is still something very special to me. My mother was very special to me, and she still is to this very day. She had this thing that they call unconditional love. I don't know if y'all know anything about that, but my mom had unconditional love for me, and I done enough for her not to, but she never once gave it up. So every Mother's Day, no matter where I'm at, she's in my heart and she's in my mind. But she's in my heart and mind every day, but especially on Mother's Day. So a big shout out to all the mothers out there. And also, I want to challenge you guys. I got a guess, but before we get to my guess, I want to challenge you guys on let me see, how do I say this? Being positive for no reason. That's a big challenge for a lot of people, because I see it every day and just in my daily travels, man. Judging by facial expressions, I don't see a whole lot of happy people, and I'm not saying you got to run around with a grin on your face all the time, but it's your body language. Be positive for no reason. Just a challenge. Again, welcome to the show. And I got one of my little brothers with me tonight, former Husker great, Mr. Tony Veland. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you bringing me on the show.
Oh, well, man, first of all, I want to thank you for coming, man, because that means a lot to me. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something about my guest before we get to these questions. This dude is real humble. He don't want to give, he's a real humble, modest guy. And I respect that, but I'm going to have to prompt him to tell y'all about who he is and all the things he's accomplished. If I don't do that, we won't know nothing, y'all. So I'm just letting you know in advance. Listen very closely to some of the accomplishments this young man has done and is still doing. So we're going to start off with, man, where'd you grow up, Tony?
Oh, man, 402 was home, man. I'm from, North Omaha, born and raised, the Benson neighborhood. My mother still lives in the same home that we grew up in.
Okay.
I go back there, often just to, support community, support Benson, but just support, just Omaha.
So the high school you went to was
Omaha Benson, man, Benson Bunny.
You're a bunny?
That's right, I'm a bunny. That's right.
I ain't hating.
Proudly hopping down the street. I am a bunny. That's right. all day.
Hey, man, well, look. Okay, growing up, you went to Benson. Did you play any other sports besides football?
Yeah, football, basketball, track.
Oh, so you was a multi.
I stayed busy the whole year round, Man.
Well,
and I loved it, man. I love it. There's something to be said about being an athlete. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Don't just call me a football player. Don't just call me a basketball player. I am an athlete. You pick up a ball, I can play that game. That's how I felt back in the day. All right?
And you had it's a competitive nature that comes with that
That
too.
is right.
Now you came. How did you come about going to Nebraska?
You know what? It's interesting. I tell the story all the time. Like I wasn't like a big Nebraska fan growing up.
Okay.
And the reason was my dad loved the Sooners.
Man, we got something in common.
He loved Boomer Sooner, man. And at that time, I just didn't really pay a lot of attention to college football. I was just more of an NFL guy. You know, at that time, was loving the Steelers and the Bears and this and that. But I would secretly root for the Huskers whenever Oklahoma and the Cornhuskers were playing. Like,
just because your dad liked the Sooners.
No, my dad loved the Sooners. And under my breath, I'd be like, "Oh, big red." You know what I'm saying? I couldn't say it in front of him. You know what I mean? So,
right.
but what ended up happening was, I was, doing halfway decent in high school ball, and we'd go up to Nebraska for the summer camp every year.
Okay.
And so I ended up going up for a camp and actually doing really well. And it was the first time that I had actually been around talent outside of Nebraska. So it kind of gave me a chance to kind of show my stuff and see how I kind of compared with other talent that was actually around. And luckily for me, that weekend I did really well. I got offered a scholarship, right after that camp, and I had a great time while I was down there. So I didn't actually commit at that particular time, but I had such a good time that I really couldn't see myself going any other place. I didn't commit until the February of that year.
Okay.
But I had entertained letters from other people and this and that. But I tell you, what kind of somewhat trying to seal the deal is, I remember playing a basketball game, and we're in the middle of the game, mind you, and we're coming down the floor, and I remember this vividly, that it got real quiet for some reason. I don't know why it got real quiet, and then I noticed when they called a timeout, I noticed that Coach Osborne had just came in the building.
Yeah, that would definitely make things quiet.
Coach Osborne had just came in the building, so he was up in the stands and he was watching me play. So then, obviously, I got to get real with it. But then it was that night. We came and talked to my mom, and just kind of his presence. He was just he was no nonsense. Very genuine. It just, Coach Osborne. He just has this aura. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
He just has his presence, and you just feel like, okay, I can believe anything he says. And then when you take that along with the fact that they're winning all the time, they're in conference championships all the time, I was like, this just made sense to me.
And it's really funny you say that, because that's true about Coach Osborne.
Yeah.
That man walks into the room, and without saying a word, he gets instant respect.
Right.
And I hate to say it like this, but if you were born in 2000 or later, you don't realize that at once upon a time, Nebraska was a very well respected.
It was it.
Yeah,
we were it.
Yeah, we were always in the top 10.
Right.
I tell that to kids that are in high school now who weren't born at that time, and they're like, yeah, right. Matter of fact, I told a story, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I told a story where I was traveling, and I had a N on my shirt, and this little kid, he was probably 10, maybe, and he's like, he looked at the end, and he looked back at his mom. He goes, "Hey, Mom, I didn't know Netflix had a clothing line." So I get it, for the young people out there, I get it. But
hilarious.
there was once upon a time when Nebraska was actually really, really good program, and I think we're getting back to that. Now, Tony, what years were you actually playing for Nebraska?
I came in 91, left in 96.
96. So you got a natty.
Yeah, got a couple.
You got
of
a natty.
Got a couple of them. Got a little jersey.
We got a national champion in the house.
That's right. That's right.
Well, man, let me ask you this: after Nebraska, then what happened?
So after Nebraska, I was lucky enough to go to the NFL. I ended up getting drafted in the 6th round. Got picked up with the Broncos.
Okay.
Played there 2 years and played another year in Carolina. But it was, even though it was short lived, it was such an amazing journey because, number one, I never thought I'd get a chance to play in the pros.
Right.
That's just bottom. That's just right off the rip because, and I can't speak for anybody else, but honestly, I couldn't even dream that far. You know what I mean? I loved football. Like loved NFL. I was that kid that actually drew up players and cut them out and was playing them with them on the ground when I was a kid. Like that's how much I loved it. But as I was growing up and playing high school ball, my main position was quarterback.
Oh, okay.
How many black quarterbacks did you see in the NFL at that time? I only remember 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was an option quarterback, so I figured, I probably am not going to have a chance to go play NFL, but maybe I can go to college and have a good, career, and that would probably be the end of it. And then, going through all the injuries that I had in college, ended up switching from quarterback to DB. Then I finally get a chance to play, and all of a sudden, I remember it was early in my senior year, I got a letter from the Hula Bowl committee, and they had invited me to the Hula Bowl. So when they did that, and I started getting a couple of agents letters, I was thinking, there might be something to this. There might be something to it. I might have a chance. But I wasn't, putting a lot of stock in it. My thing was just, listen, just do the same thing it took you to get here. Put your head down, work hard, be coachable, be a consummate teammate, and hopefully things will work out for you. And you know what? The ball bounced my way. I had a good Hula Bowl season. I worked out, my workouts went well, and all of a sudden I'm sitting on draft day and not knowing if it's even a possibility to happen, but that happened, man, and it was an awesome day.
If I remember correctly, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but not only did you get a national championship.
Yeah, I got that other jewelry too.
You want to tell me about that other jewelry?
I was fortunate enough to be there and get a Super Bowl championship, man.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Super Bowl champ, national champ. Hey, man, look at here.
Hey, you know how VJ say 3-time champ, but I'm a 3-time champ too. All right. I might be one of them, just a little bit.
You're a 3-time national champion and a Super Bowl champion. You know what, man? There's not very many people alive that can even say that.
That's true.
So, that's something right there that I know I had to pull that out of you because I know you weren't going to admit it without me prompting you. But the reason why I wanted you to say it is because, and this is just my personal opinion, a lot of times we don't want to give people their flowers.
Yeah, that's true.
Until, it's after the fact. But we play in golf tournaments together, and I see you all the time. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, that dude don't never mention nothing. He don't, if a person didn't know you, they would not know all the accomplishments. And, and like I said, I admire you for being humble and being modest about it. But hey, man, that's inspiration for a lot of people because you're just like any other little kid growing up, wanting to be something, but not sure if it's even possible.
Right. And it's true. And I tell you, man, it's like, I get around a lot of people who accomplish a number of things. Some of them are humble. Some of them are just kind of out there and arrogant, whatever. Yeah. I always feel like for me, it's always better if somebody else puts you on a pedestal.
Right.
Don't put yourself up on the pedestal. Let somebody else put you on the pedestal. Because if they do that, then you've done the actions to warrant that. Because a lot of people will talk up stuff about themselves that ain't never really happened.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
but
yeah.
My thing is I'd rather let somebody else, kind of talk that. And plus, kind of like what you talked about, I never thought I'd get there, man. I never thought that was something that was possible. I believed in the system. I had a lot of people around me that supported me. And I did the things that were right to put me in a place to be successful.
Yeah.
And I didn't guarantee that was going to happen. I still had to be pretty lucky and
absolutely.
The ball had to bounce the right way. You know what I'm saying? But it also shows you like, hey, when you do things the right way, sometimes things work out.
Man, I'm so glad to hear you say that because and this is just an observation that I've noticed in our society today. These kids, I shouldn't call them kids, I'll say young men or young ladies or whatever, athletes, they sometimes the work ethic isn't there.
Right.
And that's just what I see now. I don't see it all because I'm not there every day, but I do follow some of the youth, some of the young athletes in Lincoln. And, I know, like, for example, I know little Michael Hunter. This little guy, he be working.
Yeah.
But, I see a lot of kids that don't work.
Right.
So, and those are the ones that usually feel like they're entitled. And I hate that for them because the real world is not going to show love to that.
You're so right. And I do some work with One Academy, and we train kids, trying to get kids ready to come down here into other colleges. And that's one thing that is extremely evident that, don't get me wrong, a kid will work hard for a week. or they'll work hard for 2 weeks, or they'll work hard for a month. But if they don't see that instant gratification, if they don't see that, I'm getting to the next step right away, they're willing to quit, put up their hands, and try something else. And I just think that the level of commitment is not there, and it's not just that. Like it's going on in college football, obviously with the portal and all that stuff. It goes on with the NFL, and unfortunately, it's starting to be a way of life. But I really think it's hurting our kids' chances to develop and become stronger people, because they don't want to fight for anything. They don't want to compete for anything. They just want everything given to them. And that's just not life.
Yeah. And I was thinking the same thing. And I'm very careful when I talk about it, because I know that, I don't want to give the impression that during our time, things were different.
Right.
But what I will say is this: the portal was not an option.
Right.
And when, and I'm going to speak for myself. When I showed up in Nebraska from Texas, hey, man, it was like I was so far down the depth chart, man. I think they had to write my name in pencil, and I'm on full scholarship. I'm like, wait a minute, man. I mean, I was everything in high school.
Right.
But you worked your way up.
Yeah.
It took a couple of years and then a redshirt year, but then in the end it paid off. But I don't think that's very popular, in nowadays, especially if you don't play right away.
Yeah.
That portal, I guess, I don't know exactly how it works, but apparently you can get in and out of it pretty.
Yeah, anytime you want. If you're not happy, you can go ahead and leave. And my thing is, don't get me wrong, because I know it works well for some kids. There are some kids who have been on the team, they've been starters, and if something happens, they probably have the talent to go right away to another school and start. But every kid's not like that. If you have 10 kids going to portal, you've probably got 1 or 2 kids that are going to end up in a better situation. The other 8 kids are going to be in the same situation they were before.
Correct.
And so you put yourself even more behind the 8 ball, because now you have less time to develop, less time to learn the playbook, less time to gain camaraderie with the next team.
Mm-hmm.
So it just creates a really bad system. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to change.
Well, it's almost like, I don't know if this is correct, but I'm just going to give my opinion. But it's almost like free agency in the pro.
It is. That's what it is. That's what it
looks like.
Free agency. They're getting paid money now.
Yeah.
If I play well in this team and I do well in this team, no longer can the coach just sit there and say, okay, I've got this guy for the next 3 years. I can build a team around him.
Yeah.
He's got to worry about another school coming and saying, hey, we've got more NIL money for you.
Correct.
So why don't you hit the portal?
Yeah, we got
you. So it makes it really hard on both sides.
I mean, I kind of hate it like that, but I understand that it's a part of change.
It's a part of change.
And I guess it is what it is. Right. But I will say this, man, for you to accomplish what you did during the times that you did it, dude, that's very, very impressive. And I just want you to know from me to you, because I've said it to other people about you, but I've never said it to you. I mean, even though you're my little brother, I'm honored, man, that you're my little brother, because I'm proud of what you accomplished, because I actually had an opportunity to see the process. I mean, nothing was handed to you.
Right.
You didn't just come in here as a freshman and, with 5 stars behind you.
I didn't have none of them stars. I done had none of them stars. All I had was a chip. I had a chip on my shoulder, and I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna come in here." And I just to be honest, like I didn't have, there was no ego when I came here. My thing was I just want to show that I can play.
Right.
You know what I mean? I knew I was coming in a situation where I got 4 stars and 5 stars. Everybody was lining up to say, "Hey, he's going to be the best. He's going to be the best." I didn't know where I fit in, but what I did know is that I could play and that I can compete. And even if it wasn't in quarterback, that you're going to get me on that field somewhere. I felt like I was good enough athlete to be on that field somewhere. So, this whole idea of me trying to transfer or go look for another opportunity, no, I was going to prove to myself that I don't care who else came, that I'm going to get on that field somewhere. And, it just worked out. It didn't work out at quarterback, and I wanted it to be quarterback initially. Don't get me wrong. But when it was all said and done, I just wanted to be on the field. I just wanted to be a Husker. I just wanted to prove to myself that if I worked hard enough, that there was going to be a spot for me on that field. And
well, you definitely took care of your business, because they found a spot for you. And like I say, I know from experience, they wasn't giving spots to nobody. You earned those spots, because I remember those Tuesday and Wednesday practices. they were actually harder than the game on Saturday, man, because you was
Yeah.
going against guys on your own team that was probably much better than the guys you're going to play on Saturday.
Yeah, and I tell you, the my first year, because I was redshirted, obviously. My first year, to be honest, would kind of set the whole thing up because when you're a scout team guy, or let's call it a toilet bowl or whatever case may be.
Right.
You know, you're going up against the top unit.
Oh yeah,
every day.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Every day.
Yeah.
And so I just remember, you know, they're calling plays, and I might not run the plays, and coaches will tell you this. I might not run the plays exactly how they wanted me to because they had a lot of throwing quarterbacks, and I couldn't throw.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you what, I'm not gonna sit back there and go 1,000, 2,003. No, I'm gonna get back there. My first read ain't there. I'm out. And I used to make a lot of plays.
Yeah.
So, but that showed me like, okay, I got enough ability to make plays against this type of talent. So it got me prepared for the next game, for that next year when I knew I was going to have a real shot to play. You know what I mean?
And
so,
you know, and that probably, if I had to guess, it also opened them coaches' eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I had a similar situation on scout team. They had me playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Hey, ain't no quarterback.
Right.
But when you got black shirts over there, you better learn something real quick if it ain't nothing else but how to get out of the way. You know, and I specialize in making people miss.
Right.
So that's how after a year of red shirt, next year after that, I was
ready to go.
Start.
Yeah, ready to go.
All because of a red shirt year. So I can never really place any negative value on a red shirt.
Yeah, no.
You know, because sometimes it's just not your time.
Yeah, no, right. And it's different now. Again, you know, that kids don't necessarily want to wait. They all want to play right away. But for me, and I think for most kids, even though, you know, lifting regimens have gone up, you know, people are in high school, they're lifting more. Mm-hmm. Most high school kids coming in, their body's not ready to play at that level.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you give yourself another chance to build your body up. You give yourself another year to learn the playbook. You know what I'm saying? Because once you learn the playbook, then everything is fair game. If I know what's coming, I'm not worried about footwork. I'm not overthinking this. I'm thinking about, you know, okay, they've got this formation. They usually do this, and I give myself a chance to really make a play. That's when things happen. When you come in and you don't know that stuff, then you're going to make those freshman 3, 4, 5 mistakes every single game because you don't know stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And
so
when you don't know stuff, that'll have you over there on that bench,
on
with a baseball cap on.
Right.
Hey, well, look, don't y'all go nowhere. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back with Tony. I got some more questions for him. I'm going to pull some more out of it. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Ticket Water Cooler.
The Chris Kleiman contract, obviously Luke Fickell signed at Wisconsin for cheaper. And I will say this, I think Nebraska overpaid in the open market for Matt Rule. I will also say this, I don't care anymore. If you're Trev Alberts, just get the guy you believe in. If it costs you a few more million a year and it's not really going to do anything to your donors or hurt any support, then
you're already pretty much burning money when you fire a coach and still have to pay them despite them not coaching. So what's throwing a couple more bags of
Nebraska
cash on the fire?
taught me with that Scott Frost move. Oh, don't worry about it. The money's there.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Getting experience to jumpstart a meaningful career can be difficult, and education can cost a fortune. Luckily, AmeriCorps can be the solution. With AmeriCorps, you'll earn a stipend and education award while helping people. Plus, you'll gain professional skills and make connections to help you build your career. If you're ready to start a career you can be proud of, visit serve.nebraska.gov/service to find a program for you. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Back to the Get Your Happy On Hour, featuring former Husker receiver Ricky Simmons.
Hey, we back. Man, I tell you, this young man has had quite a career athletically, but you know what? He's done a lot of other things too. But before we get into that, I got to give a big shout out to Kim Kelly. Thank you for tuning in, and everybody that's tuned in, man. It means a lot to me that people take time out of their busy day to check out the show. Because basically what the name of the show is pretty self-explanatory. It's to get you happy on hour. We're just trying to put some positive back out there because negativity is getting quite a bit of attention and coverage. And for at least an hour out of the day, I'd like to put some positive out there every Sunday night. So tell some of your friends about the show. We're streamed everywhere. There's several ways that you can check the show out. And plus, it's archived, so you can watch it during the week, too. You don't always got to be here on Sunday night. But I appreciate it when you do come in on Sunday nights and watch it. It means a lot to me. My guest does a lot of things, y'all, that you probably would never guess. And one of them is he helps out one of my other little brothers. I be calling them my little brother. They're bigger than me, but they're still my little brother because they're younger than me. See, you got to understand, if you played before me, you're my big brother. If you played after me, you're my little brother. That's just a fraternity that we got that everybody don't understand. But tell us about Steve Warren's Academy, man.
Yeah, so Warren Academy, don't quote me. I want to say it's been around probably 11, 12 years, something like that.
Okay.
So Steve started the Academy in essence because, he just wants to help kids.
Gotcha.
I mean, he's got a heart and a vision to do whatever he can to get kids in more of a position to succeed. And, he's got, a great network of individuals, all of us from Nebraska and other coaches as well. And, he decided to come together and say, what if we, put a cohort of coaches together. We've all have, had high success either in the NFL or college, and we just want to be able to give back to these kids around here and give them a chance to get more of a scholarship, give them a chance to realize some of their dreams. And he put it together, and next thing you know, we were doing camps, and we started out just doing camps.
Okay.
Started out just doing camps, and then that ended up graduating to actually personally training kids. And so we have coaches for every position from quarterback to DB to linebackers, line, all that stuff. And we'll get together with kids and we'll just kind of teach them tricks of the trade. A lot of us, had a chance to go play at NFL. Well, there's some things that you learn in high school and something that you might learn in college that, you might not get these tips, that we were able to experience and learn. And we want to share that with them, but we also want to help these kids be men. Right. We want to help them have good attitudes. We want to help them be realistic about, what their chances are going to this school and that school. We want to get their heads in the right space too. We talk about not having some of these kids not having, great commitment to work ethic. And so, there's kind of a shift in the values, and we want to bring some of that kind of old school value back. Like, listen, these are the things we can do to help you become a better football player. But if you're also listening to us on a daily basis, you're also going to become a better man because we're teaching you things that will not only make you successful here, but make you successful even outside of football. So we've been doing that for 10, 12 years, man. We do 7-on-7 camps as well, where we, take kids around, to these different.
Is this a year-round thing, or
it's a year-round thing, but we do more in the off season. So we start up generally in December once everybody's kind of done with football.
Right.
And those kids who are playing basketball, they probably won't be able to play, but generally we'll start with our training and our testing sometime around December, go all the way pretty much through about June-ish.
Okay.
March through June, we're actually doing more 7-on-7 stuff. So this is where we're going to, places like Vegas and Tulsa and St. Louis, and we even took a team to Tampa one year, all trying to get them more exposure, all trying to give them a chance to play against different talent that they haven't seen outside of state, give them a chance to measure up, but then also letting them know, like, if you play well, there might be coaches out there that might be looking at you.
Correct.
This might get you a chance to get a scholarship somewhere where you probably wouldn't have got this exposure just sitting at home at your team.
Right.
And so we realize that, man, and we just all have a huge heart for our youth. And so we're just trying to pay it forward, man, and do what we can to help these kids be successful.
Well, I think that's it's just a good thing, man, because to me, I think it basically gives a kid that's maybe on the fence. It gives them a chance.
Right.
And that's all you can ask for is a chance, because ain't nothing, in life promised. So we understand that. But some of these kids are a lot more talented than they know. But if they never get a chance to see, how would they know?
Right. And I kind of liken it in essence somewhat to myself, because I went to Benson High School. Benson High School was not good at football when we were there. You know what I mean? And so we weren't getting any exposure unless we're playing against a Central or we're playing against a Prep or something like that. And nobody's looking at Benson to have these, these great athletes. But you have schools that are like that now. They get no exposure. They don't have, winning seasons, so nobody's really expecting anything out of them. Well, now we can take some of their best players and put them on kind of somewhat of an all-star team. And then you can go from state to state.
Yeah,
where people are looking at these kids and they're like, "Hey, who is this guy right here? He is a player. Where is he from?" That's what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to give them, that type of exposure that they won't actually get.
And I'm sure you guys are probably throwing in that academic element.
Oh, always.
Yeah,
always. We stress everything. Man. Obviously, academic plays a huge part. There's the athletic side, but then even probably more than that is more mindset. Attitude, stuff you talk about, you and AD talk about all the time.
Right.
Is having a good attitude. Because if you have a good attitude, even if you don't get to be as successful as you want to, you're going to have success.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because you have the mind for it.
Right. And I think that's smart, because sometimes kids want to rely just on talent.
Right.
And I've known, and I'm sure you've known plenty of guys that had the talent, but they couldn't get on the field because they couldn't get out of the classroom.
Right. Couldn't get out the classroom, or they weren't coachable, or they didn't have the heart to get past competition. Like there's a whole litmus test of things, that people need to consider. And we try to bring it out of kids. We try to push them to do the right things. And we've had a lot of successes, man. We've had some really big names come through through our camps. Noah Fant, Harrison Phillips. Some guys have make it through NFL. Some guys that are down at UNL right now, and we think we're finally at that point where we're having enough success that the coaches here are looking at us. We've got coaches from other states even reaching out to us to get our opinion on Nebraska kids, and so we're happy with the success that we're having. We're just hoping that continues to grow.
Well, I'm sure it will. I also, man, I know that you do something else, man, and you're gonna have to definitely. This part I don't know a lot about, but I'm gonna ask.
Yes,
it's AIM.
Yeah.
What is AIM, man?
The AIM Institute. The AIM Institute is a nonprofit that is growing a more strong and diverse tech community through career development, education, and outreach.
Okay.
So in essence, when you think about it, and I don't know how much you really pay attention to kind of labor markets, there's a lot of companies out there that can't find people with tech skills. Gotcha. And so they are basically hiring people out of state to actually fill out these jobs, which in essence isn't that bad of a deal. But when it kind of comes down to it, we've got able-bodied people here, in our city and in our state. As a matter of fact, we got a lot of people look like me and you,
right,
that are getting passed up on these opportunities for people out of state. And so our thing is, how can we bring that back home? How can we, take our own people, upskill them, and allow them to have those same jobs? The reason I even joined this company was, obviously we talk about sports all the time, and it's easy for me to talk to a kid till I'm blue in the face about sports. But let's be honest, every kid is not going to be athletic. Every kid is not going to get a scholarship. And I may talk to 3 kids in my life that'll go play professionally and be able to take care of their family. Right. So when you think about it from that standpoint, the sports part isn't practical for everybody.
Right.
But how many of these kids do you know that don't know something about tech? How many are not on social media? How many are not on video games? How many not have cell phones? How many are not, doing something on the computer or something messing around with the internet? Right. Everybody, all these kids are doing something with tech.
And they're good at it.
Yeah, and they're good at it. And so how can you change the mindset to not just being a consumer, but being a creator? Create your own path. Like there are plenty of jobs like that are making really, really good money, like really good money. And they can't find the people because number one, the kids aren't aware of the opportunities out there. Or number two, that they're scared that they might not be smart enough to actually get in this field and excel in this field, or they're scared to even approach it because it's a huge field, like it's very wide and it can be daunting. Our whole goal is to make that less daunting. Our whole goal is to meet them where they're at. Like even if they're young, we want to get them exposed to what's out there so they get in their mind like, hey, not only is this cool and not only is this fun, like I can make money at this. Those kids that are playing video games all the time, we used to talk crazy about them and be like, hey, you just wasting your time. Yeah. They're not wasting their time anymore. People are doing EA Sports and getting full ride scholarships now, playing video games.
Right. Right. I've heard that.
And it's crazy because they talk about some of the skills and some of the mannerisms that you have to play those games will allow you to do stuff that people in NASA do because you have those type of thought processes.
Right.
And so we're trying to get kids to realize like there's so many opportunities out here for you to be successful. Like you don't have to go in it, but at least open your eyes to learn about it. And if you learn about it, then you have a chance to really be successful.
I was just sitting there thinking when you were saying that, how would a kid that may be interested, how would they even get in touch with AIM? How do you?
So they can go on our website, aiminstitute.org, and we have a piece on there called Seek Out a Tech Navigator. If they hit that button, give that information, we'll have a tech navigator reach out to them. And that person can kind of tell them, or kind of help them and guide them to whatever it is they want. Whether if they're looking for a job, if they're looking just for, some type of class to make them better, if they're just looking for maybe a camp to come and kind of experience to see what tech is. So they can do that, aiminstitute.org, and it will help them do that. But again, my thing is just really, and it's not just the kids, right? Yeah. It's not just the kids. Remember, we're coming out of, COVID a few years ago.
Oh,
where
absolutely.
A lot of people were sitting on the sideline, right? Losing jobs. Well, they were probably sitting on the sidelines, but when they're looking at these job boards, they're probably seeing all these tech jobs and wondering how the hell can I get in there?
Right.
Well, if you go through us, you don't have to necessarily go to school for 4 or 5 years. You don't have to necessarily spend $120,000, $50,000 to get these certifications. You get a couple of certifications through us because we have our code school, and those certifications go anywhere between 5 and 16 weeks, depending on the certification. But you take a few of those classes, and because we've been around for almost 30 years, we've got relationships with probably 60 to 70% of the businesses in the city. Like once you get those certifications, like we're going to try to connect you where those opportunities lay.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So we're trying to do this from, youth all the way through adults. We're just trying to get more people in that pipeline so that not only builds up the business community and that these companies have more people to hire, but it also builds up the community in general. And we're getting them in jobs that are stable and that can basically change the trajectory of poverty that a lot of people have.
Man, that's big. I mean, I knew about it. I just didn't know exactly what y'all doing. So you educated me as well, because I just think that there should be more opportunities out here in this tech world. But like you say, when you're like me and you don't know.
Right. But that's what this is for, right? And I appreciate you coming on and let me even talk about this, because that's probably the biggest issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that kids don't necessarily want to do it. A lot of kids just don't know. They don't know that it's out there for them to take advantage of.
Right.
And in a way that it doesn't necessarily cost them money. Because we have to meet people where they are. And a lot of people just don't have the extra money to put towards these type of things. Well, we realize that. I realize where I'm coming from. I realize my neighborhood is one of the lowest in income and zip codes in the city. So we have to understand that we try to meet them there and still allow them, a hand up to be able to take some of these classes and be able to change their life.
Well, see, that's good. So anybody that's listening, you can pass that information on, because I think that's a real important piece of information there. It ain't about how much money you got.
Right.
Yeah, if you got a desire and you really are interested, you can get help.
Exactly.
And what's that website again?
AIMinstitute.org.
AIMinstitute.org. Well, hey, look, man, I think, are we about ready for?
Yeah, we can go to break now. Otherwise, we got about 3 more minutes.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let's take another quick break, and then we'll come right back. I got some other things I wanna hit him with. Don't y'all go nowhere. This is the Get You Happy On Hour on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm your host, Ricky C. Simmons. We'll be right back.